in, and so can Linda, if she's going to come. All right, have you started?
Okay, it says it started.
Okay. All right, well then let's officially say welcome to the June 11th general meeting of our Apple CIDER group. And I guess we can start off with, since it was the Apple Worldwide Conference, right? Wasn't that just
Ongoing
last week? Ongoing?
this week.
So I guess, Steve, then you can start off and the news or whatever. And I guess I should start the general meeting by saying that our annual picnic will be next month.
So why Shirley is not coming in well?
I'm not coming in well.
Let's see.
Well, our picnic will be on the
Okay, I'm not getting anything on Shirley yet.
July 9th, 6 o'clock, Apple Cider Picnic at Dave Chamberlain's house, as usual, and Steve will post it, the directions. And at our board meeting, we'll talk about who's bringing what, as usual. Hopefully a nice day. Alright, well, Steve, you can start whenever. So, Bob, did Carol come back?
She'll be strolling in here, maybe.
Okay, I thought maybe you were talking to her and she wanted a lot of money.
I don't know what she's doing down there.
Okay.
Alright, something just happened and it's working now.
Alright, fine.
Except I'm getting a lot of hiss on YouTube.
From me or just on YouTube in general?
Maybe he's talking to a
Put
snake.
one ear on YouTube and one ear on Google. Let's see if that works.
Rick, I was thinking the same thing. Funny.
Slytherin.
Alright, and there's a delay which isn't helping any. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, YouTube should be working.
So you're on YouTube, right, Rick?
Yeah,
No, he's on.
but he's on a delay because YouTube is delayed.
Okay.
Give us a thumbs up when you hear us, Rick.
I hear both of you.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no delay?
I'm not hearing a delay.
Oh no,
Although
he's in Meet. He's
I
not on
see
YouTube.
a delay.
He's in here. He's in the
Yeah.
meet. He's not.
I'm not on YouTube.
Okay.
Oh,
I thought he was going to go on YouTube.
okay.
I'll go on it later.
Okay, that was the confusion. We thought you were on it. That's okay.
That's me.
I am on YouTube.
Properties.
Do you have any problems?
I'm hearing. This is not easy for me to do because I'm trying to talk to the meeting on Google Meet, and I got an earphone that's on YouTube, and there is, of course, a delay.
Yeah. 1 ear on each.
Steve,
Alright, so I can see what the YouTube delay is.
well, I mean that's normal, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, I'm hearing YouTube now.
Okay, now I'm going to make my usual request early on here to ask you to bump your volume as much as you safely can.
right, I think we're good. Let me get. Charlie just requested I bought my volume again because I have another ear. All right. Let's try to get not too much in the red. Alrighty.
Steve, you
So-
sound good now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. So I want to. Should we start with WWDC or should we start with Q&A?
Whatever you want to do.
So a lot of the questions might be related to the announcements. So let me
All right.
share my screen. Tab. Alrighty. Anyone have a general question?
Yes, we do.
I think you have to log out and back in because something strange is happening on the screen.
Yeah, you look like you're frozen.
Yeah,
But the audio is working.
yeah, but it's like very strange. You would not believe the strange things that are happening on the screen right now.
Taken over by aliens, okay.
Yeah, I don't even know how I can log out because I can't even see anything on the screen. Oh, goodness.
I can eject you if you need me to.
Yeah, why don't you do that and I'll back in.
Alrighty, here you go. Oh. No, that I can reject you and then you can't get back in again.
Oh, okay, don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah. Close. Yeah, it's for banning griefers. All right. You said you had a question, Rick. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, it's more of a technical problem. I've been trying to do file sharing, and it appears that the operating system won't let me do it anymore. A few weeks ago, I found a workaround, and it was telling me to use the name of the computer rather than the IP address for it. And that worked for a little bit, and now that stopped working too. So I have no way of doing any file sharing.
Okay, that's odd. They did. Let me bring up a shared screen here. They did just announce the deprecation of AppleTalk. So the AppleTalk filing protocol is being discontinued, and it was replaced by SMB years ago anyway.
Yeah.
Show my screen. Here we are. So under General, under Sharing, oh, I have to. How do I control? Used to be able to control that window from this window. All right. Yeah, under Sharing, they moved things, so now file sharing is in the General control, and you can turn on file sharing and then pick a folder to be shared on the network. And typically you share over SMB. If you're sharing with Windows users, it has to be a lower level of SMB, and you have to authenticate that person. So you've got.
I'm still under Ventura, so my screen looks different than yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have a shared folder. All right. And when you try to connect to it, what happens?
It says there was an error connecting.
And you're doing the SMB:// in the IP address.
I've tried it that way, and I've also tried it by using the name of the computer as well. And neither method seems to work anymore.
It does work, so it's just something in your setup. Let me see, turn file sharing off and back on again.
Yeah, I've done that.
Not working. Let's see what Google says. I know there was a trick. If you go to the network neighborhood, does it show the computer on the network?
Yeah, I can see the computer on the network.
And so when you connect to it is when you get the error.
Yep.
And what's the client computer trying to connect into? What OS is it's running?
They're both the same.
Both Ventura. Okay, that should be fine. Turn it off, restart, turn it back on.
Did that.
May need to repeat this process a few times. It suddenly stopped working, so it will suddenly start working again. Okay, that's not a good sign. You might want to try connecting with a different computer to see if that works. Whether it's the client or the server that's the problem.
Yeah, I've tried it.
And
both
one
ways.
of
What is SMB?
server message block. It's the protocol that's used for network file sharing and printer sharing too. So, yeah,
So I'm not the only person that's been reporting this issue.
no, a lot of these are old. Usually turning it off and turning it back on again is working. So he's trying to use SFH instead of SMB.
Yeah.
And it's before you even get the username prompt as you're getting the error.
I get the username prompt, I get the password in, and then when I submit it, it says, "Oh, I couldn't connect. There was some kind of an error problem."
So the fact that it's asking for username means it's making the initial connection. Try using the short name instead of the long name. Unless it's the same.
I'm not sure I have a long name. It's the same.
Well, the short name is all lowercase, no punctuation, no spaces.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess probably haven't used a long name.
The short name would be the home folder name. So let me share that back out. So there's a way to get to that. I want to switch windows again. Go back to System Preferences. When you go to your users and groups, if you control click on your username and go to Advanced Options, it will show you, and then you got to put your password in. Lowercase. It will show you the long name and the short name.
Okay.
So usually the long name is your full uppercase, lowercase name, space in the middle. And then the short name is used for the Unix underpinnings. All lowercase. Yep.
All right. Although users there is capitalized under the home directory.
Yeah, because that folder is capital.
Okay.
The user folder itself is typically lowercase, no spaces, no punctuation.
Alrighty, I'll give that a shot. Thank you.
Yep.
Stop
sharing.
Steve,
Yep.
I have a small one here, and this is not a serious problem, but it's just weird. On my somewhat new MacBook Air, whatever, it times me out pretty quickly, and I'm alright with that because it has finger ID. Okay, but when I leave it sleeping overnight, I'm not
the time schedule is in which this happens. Most of the time, I just tap the space bar and the screen lights up, and then I put my finger on the power button or whatever, and it lets me in, no problem. Once in a while, it requires the password in order to enable fingerprint ID.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with that?
Depends on how long it's been off.
Okay.
It's a security precaution where if it's off for too long, it basically forgets your authentication, so someone else can't come up to it and get into it without your password.
But it still would require my fingerprint ID, right?
Um, no, not if it says your password is required to enable Touch ID.
Well, what I'm saying is if it didn't do that, what if it just stayed with Touch ID?
Then someone could drag your lifeless hand and up to the computer and log into your account.
Well, I suppose if I'm dead, that's not a major worry anyway. But
Yeah. Or
I
you're
don't
unconscious then.
I don't actually mind it because it helps me remember my password.
I think it's 48 hours, but it might be 24 hours, and there's no way to change it.
Oh, okay. That was my next question. Whether
Yeah.
I can change that settings. Okay. All right. Fine. So
You can change the general screen lock time on how soon the screen locks on idle, but not the security timeout when it's asleep.
okay. Thank you.
Hey Steve,
Yep.
I've been having a problem. I didn't have it tonight, but I got a shaky hand when I'm working on the screen, move it towards the top, it comes up with like three screens. It moves in and out, changes the way of changing that.
It sounds like you're activating mission control.
Is there?
Um, Let me find it in settings. There's gestures for switching between desktops. Um, is it is it on a mouse or a trackpad?
It's on a mouse.
On a mouse, okay.
Does
Then
anybody?
that might be a hot corner.
And it goes crazy on me.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a hot corner activating mission control.
Okay.
Let's go back into settings. I can never find any where any of the settings are, so I usually search for everything. Um, so hot corner. So if I search for hot corner, you can. Oh, it spawned a new window. Can you see the new window?
Yeah.
You can choose what happens if you move your cursor into either of the four corners.
Okay.
So you can turn all those off so it does nothing. My guess is one of yours is set to mission control.
Okay. And then I have another one. Is like when you get a screen, you gotta push the start. And when I come over, push the start, I get a dialogue box. With 4 or 5 gestures. Things to do, choices, and I can't click on the start button. You know what I mean?
I'm wondering that might be it's the mission control again. It's turning on your
Something with that.
what is it? There are three or four different keys. Um, Depending on how old your keyboard is or new, the F3 key will show you all your open windows, and there's a gesture to do that as well. So if we go into mouse, I can't go into mouse because I don't have one. But in system preferences under mouse, there will be extra gestures. So you can turn off the extra gestures that happen when you swipe with 2 or 3 fingers on the mouse.
Okay. So it's probably just the way I'm hanging on to the mouse, activating something then.
Yeah, you think you're scrolling with 1 finger, but you actually scroll with 3.
Yeah. Okay. And I have one other quick question on the iPhone. to her, I get a thing, not connecting, into her box, and I can't call. It just goes into her, you know,
Voicemail?
yeah, voicemail, but if I go click it to video, the video goes through. Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't.
Usually if it goes straight to voicemail, then the phone is busy. So are you making a phone call or an audio
I'm making
FaceTime
a phone
call?
call.
Okay.
Making a phone.
But then when you make a FaceTime call, it works.
Yeah. Or I have to send her a text message and have her call me.
She might have you on accidentally blocked. Either there's a setting in the phone to block unknown callers. So if it doesn't recognize the phone number, like it's a spam call, it'll block it. So if she makes sure that your phone number is in her address book,
Yeah.
that should help that.
But I'm using it. She doesn't do anything different on the phone. Some nights it works, and some nights it doesn't. Like this morning, it didn't work. We can't figure out why.
Yeah, those are the crazy ones because it should always work or it should never work. So something is changing. You might want to try an audio FaceTime call instead of a video FaceTime call. See if that goes through.
Okay, I'll try that next time it happens.
Because that has a different set of blocking. So if the phone number is blocked, the Apple ID may not be blocked.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a couple of questions coming out of this.
Sure.
One is, am I correct that and I mentioned this because I have a tremor in accessibility or whatever, the handicap stuff there. I might be under mouse. I don't know. I only use a trackpad. Can you change? In other words, can you sort of dampen any wiggle that you may have? I think for the mouse you can maybe change how much it moves, or am I
Yeah.
making myself at all?
Yeah. And I think that is under accessibility.
I think you can change the sensitivity.
Okay.
In your pointer control, double click speed. Let's see, mouse options, how fast you're scrolling. Let's see. That's because I have a trackpad loaded, not a mouse. Let's see. Jumpy Jan. There's an it's the opposite problem. If you wiggle your mouse really fast, it will make the cursor jump really big, so you can find it.
Okay.
There's something in there on accessibility.
Well,
I just have to find it.
More time on this than you want to because at this point, it's my handwriting is atrocious, but I can manage the computer on the trackpad okay.
Let me do tremor. You can also use dictation too for typing.
I'm going to need to get into the whole subject of reading text to me out loud and
Yep.
how to navigate around the keyboard when I can't see because I also have macular degeneration and it's not interfering now, but I need to do something proactive about it in case it goes to the point where I can't see what the heck I'm looking at.
See, all the things I'm finding are the opposite. My cursor is shaking. Why? Shaking by itself. How do I fix that? There's got to be. Yeah.
It may be afraid of you.
Yeah. I'm thinking there might be something in the disability group. And I'm seeing several Windows programs to smooth your mouse out. Here's one. So you can slow your cursor down in system settings. And you're using the Apple trackpad, right?
Right.
There's a third.
One in the computer.
Yeah. There's a.
As I say, at this point, it's not actually a problem yet. It's just something I was curious about.
Yeah. There's a couple of third-party mouse drivers that may have smoothing options in it. I'm trying to figure out. There's one called Steady Mouse. That's for Windows only. I'm finding too many stuff for Windows only. Yeah, I'll keep it in the back of my mind. Might ask. There's a guy who calls into Soundbites a lot, who does a lot of work in the disabled community, or differently abled community.
All right. And I have one other question. It's actually sort of for Carol Areno. At one point during this, I turned on the closed caption feature, and at the point in time where I did it, one of the first things that came up was from Carol, and it was something about the pest control of God.
What in the world did she say? Yeah, what did she say that came back as that?
Oh, I may have just blown her off.
Nope. Carol's muted again.
Okay. Let me get out of whatever the heck I'm in here. Let me shut that off. And then I'm going to do this.
There's a little microphone icon at the bottom.
Alright, something called slow keys makes typing slower. So if you accidentally hit too many characters, it doesn't affect, and you don't get the wrong characters types. But that's only for keys, not mouse. Yeah, well,
Hello, I'm back.
we'll keep a think on that.
So the chat thing was the control captioning thing misheard.
I figured.
It was Rick saying the pest control guy is at the door. So it's pest control guy that turned into guy.
Yeah, he was a pest, all right.
Kind of late for house calls, although everyone wants to come at night when you're home from work.
But that could make a new TV series.
Yeah.
Right? The way it was, considering how odd some of the other titles are of things you watch.
Alrighty. Anybody else have any other questions? For now, I'm sure we'll come up with some more later.
I have a question. On my iPhone, a lot of the text, like I'm looking right now at they're very faint. I want to make the contrast between the text and the background, bolder so I see it better.
That's in display settings. Let's turn this on. Which iOS are you running? It's
Probably the newest because it's the phone that updates it regular.
okay. So you've got an invert color option. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, also that's under accessibility as well. I want just the general font size. Yeah, where's that under? Under display and text size. Let me get my phone. And then in accessibility, you can change the contrast as well.
Under disability,
Display and text size. Nope, that's an older OS. So we want to find it in the newest OS. iPhone. No, that's not it. So you can invert your colors, color filter, bold buttons, reduce, increase contrast, yes. So under accessibility and then display and text size.
it's not in settings. That's a separate thing.
Yeah, in settings, yes. Let's see. This probably isn't going to work very well.
Display and text size.
Yep. Yeah. So you can change the bold and outline and transparency. You can have more contrast.
Okay.
You can add a color filter.
Just have bold text and we'll see how that works. But at least I know where I'm looking. So if that doesn't do it, I'll try other things.
Yeah, it's probably in there somewhere. I see a lot of
I have to restart this or is it take effect?
no, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I put it on bold.
Yep.
Now it's easier to read.
We see a lot of people bring their computer in and they've got increased contrast turned on for some reason. I think they might be hitting the key combination accidentally, and so everything on screen looks weird. So depending on your vision difficulties, you can change the contrast. Alrighty, shall we go into some new stuff?
Sounds good.
Nope, I do this button first and share. If you have a chance.
People turned into letters.
Yeah, if it can't.
The only people left here is you and me, Steve. Everybody else is into a letter.
At my end, only Kim is a letter. It can depend if it can't feed all the video. It reduces it to their moniker. Chrome tab.
Dave Chamberlain is a little symbol.
He's a nose with sunglasses.
Yeah.
Alright, I don't know how well this is going to work over the stream. If you get a chance to watch the YouTube video, it starts out with, can I back up a little bit? With Johnny, now I lost his name. Driving an F1 car, so it's basically a commercial for the Apple's new F1 movie. and he's driving the F1 car on top of the Apple spaceship, and they get him to come in when he's done driving. And let me see. I got to go back to this window. That's why it wasn't working. So here he is driving driving in the car, and his helmet is named Hair Force One. So they've done a lot of gags in the past with his hair, and in one of the last ones where they were jumping out of a airplane to parachute into the Apple campus, his helmet was in the shape of a big hair, and so now. Hair.
Quick lap, not a therapy session. It feels so much better.
So they pull all his hair off. Let me turn the volume down a little bit there, and he hits his button, and they switch back the solar panel. There's a bit where he, as he's driving, he's going F1 baby, and then Tim Cook, who's also in the video, leans out from behind the monitor and says, "Yeah, F1 baby," in Tim's dry stroll. So probably the first thing is that there was no new hardware. Some people were expecting maybe an M5 iMac, an updated Mac Pro, because the Mac Pro is still on the M2, where the Studio they upgraded in the spring to the M4, but the Mac Pro is still on the M2, so we were kind of hoping for that. One of the big differences is that they've unified the version numbering. So now they're all going by the major year that it will be in. So all the new operating systems are going to be version 26 or year 26. Part of me is wondering if they're going to still have the subversion underneath. So it's iOS 19 and macOS. What are you up to? macOS 16. There's a lot of overlap between the all the OSs. There's a lot of the same stuff is put in each. And let me scroll down here. One of the biggest things they added was this thing they're calling liquid glass. And oops, let me go back to here and pause. So all of the controls are now semi-translucent. The colors overlay on top of themselves. There's a new transparent option for your icons. Everyone is saying that's ugly and hard to read, but if you like that, sure. And a couple of people online were quick to point out that is pretty much the Windows Vista Aero look that they had way back then. So congratulations, Apple, you've invented Windows Vista after 20 odd years. And if we go to, but no, the second page, there was a lot more talk about Apple Intelligence, adding visual intelligence so you can ask about what's on the screen. They didn't really make any apologies for Apple Intelligence being still late. Some of the things they announced at last year's developer conference are still not available. They had to pull back some of their commercials that were showing features that aren't available. There's a class action lawsuit that was filed because they were advertising features that weren't available yet and still aren't available. So people are mad about that. Live translation now in messages, FaceTime, and on your phone calls. So it can translate among a bunch of different languages, and by using Apple Intelligence, it can also speak in that language, in addition to doing text translation. So that's kind of a neat option for people who communicate globally. One of the biggest features on the iPad is they're making it more Mac-like. So you can now have multiple resizable windows on the Mac. I'm sorry, on the iPad, like you can on your Mac, which is especially nice on the bigger iPads, the 13-inch iPad Pro even, where it almost could be a Mac. And the single app view is still there for people that don't want to deal with multiple apps and app windows. The bottom right corner, is there a repeat button somewhere? Nope. The bottom right corner of the window is the grabber where you can split into multiple windows if you want to. And more, you have a workout buddy now, so you've got AI on your workout to give you encouragement. I don't know if we want stuff like that. We want the intelligent robot to do the dishes and do the laundry while we create the art and the music, but it's doing it the other way around. The AI is doing the art and the music. Apple Vision Pro, they've added widgets to your Apple Vision, so you can you put widgets all over your vision space. One of the neat things they showed with the iPhone lock screen is that there are 3D effects that can change based on your picture. So a lot of people will have their own photos on the lock screen. So in this example, the picture is kind of in the bottom third of the screen, so the clock fills the other 2/3. And when the picture changes, the clock automatically moves to fit into the space available for the picture. Oh, that actually, let me see if I can find that. There was an unfortunate YouTube play button on the liquid glass. Let me see if I can find that link. YouTube images. Yeah. No, wrong button. Back up. Share this tab. So on Apple's video introducing Liquid Ass, the YouTube video icon covered the G and the L, so that didn't look really good. So Apple quickly uploaded a new thumbnail where they moved it onto 2 separate lines. So now the YouTube thumbnail doesn't screw you up. There's a better picture of it, or not. So every now and then, even Apple more than now and then, even Apple screws up. Features, share this tab again. Let's see. Yeah, you can now color code your folders again. So people were pulling out System 7 features that are now back into the Mac, or all the OSs. So part of unifying the version number is also unifying the features. Almost all of the same features are available on almost all of the devices. Let's see. You can ask an image playground now, instead of using just the built-in emojis. You can send it to ChatGPT to do realistic images. So their example here was realistic stork carrying a baby, and it generated it for you. They have kind of condensed some of the potentially unwanted distractions. So they've added some of this now with mail hierarchy, where you can have it automatically try to guess what is important versus what's solicitation. If you get an unwanted call, it will now go into a call screening mode, where it will actually answer the call and ask the person what they're calling about, and then if someone actually answers back, then you can see what they're saying and then choose to answer the call or not. So just like call screening from our old analog answering machines, without needing to wait for them to leave a message and then you call them back and miss. If you get new senders in your messages list, they go into a separate section to help you cut down on the amount of spam you're seeing. If you're waiting on hold for something, the phone can wait for you, and then so you don't have to keep your ear on the phone. It will wait for you. So when the other end answers, the phone will say, something like, "This is iPhone Assistant. Hang on a second," and then they call you back, so you can pick up the phone and not have to sit and wait on hold by yourself. That was a good one. Yep. You can now add a background to enter conversation in messages and FaceTime. So you can make your messages cooler. And now in messages you can make a poll. So instead of asking where's everyone to go for dinner tonight, you can make a poll and give dinner options. Because we know how that works. Where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? And you spend an hour deciding. Just put up 5 separate options in a poll and let them do it. So that's all of those. Again, multiple windows. There's the iPad that looks like a Mac. So they're Macifying the iPad. So if you want to use multiple windows, you can now. A Spotlight, they've added a lot to, where it can do more than just search. It can actually do functions. So instead of searching for an email or searching for a message, it can actually send messages. So the command space shortcut, which brings up Spotlight, you can have it do things for you rather than. So right now, a lot of people will use Spotlight as an application launcher. So you hit Spotlight and type messages, it brings up messages. Then you hit new message and then have to start typing. You can now do that all in one shot right in Spotlight. So it recognizes send, and then you type in your message and to your recipients, and it does it for you, which is pretty handy. Files can now be colored, and you can put icons on them. You may have noticed if you look in your home folder that movies and music and pictures all have icons on them indicating what status they are. Now you can do that yourself. That's going to be built. It's going to be coming sooner to Mac OS than it is to iPhone and iPad, but it will be coming. You can. They're supercharging the Files app, where you're almost getting the full Finder now on an iPad. There's been a big problem with file discovery. When you save a file on your iPad, where does it go? Now you can put those folders right in your dock on the iPad to get to them, which is handy. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of big talk about CarPlay. More and more cars are coming with more screens, and what's interesting, we're starting to see some car companies have stopped including CarPlay because they want to sell you their own entertainment and mapping system at a subscription. It's a big thing a couple years ago where BMW wanted to charge a subscription for heated seats. It's already built into the car, but you got to pay extra to turn it on. Now, especially something like BMW, where the cars are so much more expensive to start with. I could see that maybe in a cheaper model. And live activities are now being increased, so that if, say, you order a food delivery from like Grubhub, the emails that they send you will automatically pop up in your live activity, so you can see where they are and where they're going to be, how soon they're going to get to you. The Maps app learns your driving habits. So if you like to take one road versus another road, it can do that. It remembers more of the places you have visited. They've also now added a games app. They kind of made a big deal about games now on iPhone and Mac. We're adding more and more games, like every new OS that comes out. And they talked about a new first-person action game coming out soon, but gaming isn't really that big. The casual gaming is really big on the iPhone, rather than the big shooter games. If you have an Apple Vision, they're expanding their spatial scenes, so it can give all of your still flat photos a three-dimensional look and three-dimensional view. Let's see, TV app. They've added a karaoke mode to the TV app. So when you're listening to Apple Music, your phone can become a microphone, and so you can have a karaoke party, and each person with their own phone can sing at karaoke. Let's see. We got widgets. That's all for Windows OS. And the point of this was a developer conference, so that the APIs are available for all the developers to add all these features to their apps. They made the big joke again about what name their cracked macOS naming team is going to be, and so macOS 26 is now Tahoe, which is interesting because I always thought Tahoe was in Nevada. But Lake Tahoe is more in California than it is Nevada. But there's a town in California called Tahoe. Let's see, coming this fall. So a lot of the same stuff. The liquid glass. We'll play the liquid glass video. And actually, I don't want to play the video because Apple took us down last time we did that. Let's see. All the so a lot of the features are the same across all apps, all devices. So the phone, the iPad, the Mac, the watch, and Apple Vision. I don't know about this transparent mode. I guess it lets you see your picture behind it a lot better. Let's see. You can now control what's in your control center more. Let's see, that was pretty much the same as we already saw. So there's a lot of redundancy along the Apple stuff because so much is the same between devices. Let's see, if we get down here, they should have. So this is the biggest issue now with compatibility. So most of the compatibility issue is you need 2020 or later, or the MacBook Pro 2019 and later. So they've cut it down to about 5 or 6 year old computers. So it basically is the Apple M series or high-end Intel Macs. Both the Mac Pro and the MacBook Pro were very high-end Intels, being able to handle all of the extra compatibility. Let's go back to iOS and see what that list is. So iOS is a little better, going back to the SE2 and the 11 and forward. So we're getting about 5 or 6 years of compatibility. And then iPad OS, let's find that. Multi-screen. Where is it? Did I miss it? Probably one of these. Yeah, the added expose from the Mac into the iPad. I thought they had an animation. Maybe it was one of the up here of the. There we are. Liquid glass. Multitask. So here you can see the little bottom right corner of the window is where you drag a window if you want to have multiple overlapping windows. And do I have a picture of it now? There's a menu bar on the iPad. You can activate a menu bar that looks exactly like the Mac menu bar, and the pencil now gives you a an arrow cursor instead of a round cursor, like the mouse previously did. Let's see what iPads it is. So iPad Mini 5th gen and later, A17 8th gen and later. So that's pretty good. We're on the 11th gen now for the regular iPad. Looks like my iPad is too old to take it, but my iPhone will take it. And developer previews came out today, and public betas are supposed to be out next week. So as we start getting more hands-on experience, we'll probably have actual live demos this fall when it comes out. Oh, they added preview to the iPad. So now the preview functions for PDF viewing and JPEG viewing were basically built into any app. They've now added preview as its own app, so that you can edit and sign and fill in PDFs. So that was a nice addition to the iPad. Let's see, liquid glass, folders, yep. Pretty much between iPhone and iPad are the same. Automatic translation in a dozen or so languages, with more coming, they said. Alright, and then go back to the beginning. Where did they have the... they had a bunch of new Apple TV shows coming up. These are just scrolling across. So there were a lot of people who were disappointed there's no new hardware. The software upgrades, there's nothing like wow, but a lot of stuff has been heavily what's the word I want? Demanded. People wanting a better file system to find where their files are on the iPad. A lot of people want the iPad to be more Mac-like. You still can't run Mac apps on the iPad, but you can run a lot of iPad apps on the Mac for Apple Silicon. So it can go one way. Maybe eventually it will go the other way. But if you have a chance, it's at least the first 2 minutes of the F1 are pretty good. Apple's been putting up more and more short videos. So the whole keynote itself is an hour and a half. But the nice thing about it is they have it broken down into each section, so you can only watch the section you're interested in if you want. And we're starting to see more TV commercials coming out for all the new TV shows. And let's see, when is F1 coming? I think F1 is coming in July. F1 movie. Well, there was another cute one with Craig and his little tiny car. There it is. So everyone's wondering if that was the Apple car that got canceled. When the the company that was doing the F1 movie with him, what's his name? Brad Pitt. They basically made two new F1 teams and had the full pits and the cars and the crews at an actual F1 racing event, so that they could get him filming in and out, in between other real F1 drivers and get F1 car scenes. So it's, if you're into racing, it's supposed to be pretty good. Coming in July, I believe. Yeah, so they have the 2-minute opening video is now available separately. Everything's shaking as he's zooming around the track. There's a scene where there's Tim, where Tim tells him he's losing time in turn 6, and he says, "Well, it's pretty much all turns, Tim." So somebody's got to do the math of a circle with a 1 mile diameter. What do you say? What is Apple Park? What's the circumference of Apple Park? Oh, so it's a mile course. So that's short for a F1 race, but some of the smaller races start out with mile tracks. All right. Anybody have any questions? Has anyone installed the developer beta yet? Zoom. Nope.
Steve, I have a question.
Yep.
All this OS 26 stuff, is that out already? Or
No. This fall. Right now, this fall is all they're saying. Likely iOS. Where is it? Here we go. iOS is going to be September with the new phone. iPad and iPad OS might be about then too. Generally speaking, Mac OS is October. They may end up releasing everything at the same time because of the overlap in the code. So many of the same features are in each one.
yeah, I have a supplemental question. A year or two ago, somewhere in when we had Adam X, he stated flatly that Mac OS and iOS would never become one and the same thing. To what extent is that still true?
It depends on how you look at it. Mac OS is not becoming iOS, but iOS is becoming Mac OS. So it's unlikely we'll ever see a touchscreen Mac. because we have a touchscreen iPad that can function almost like a Mac, but it can't run Mac apps yet. That's one of the last things about Macifying the iPad. And a lot of that, I think, is just the general workhorse power of a general purpose computer. Even though now we're seeing that the iPad and the Mac both use the same M4 chip, there probably isn't much of a reason not to. Although the biggest issue is RAM. When all the iDevices added Apple Intelligence, they had to have at least 8 gigs of RAM. So most of the Apple devices now have 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, where most of the Macs are now 16 gigs minimum and can go up from that. So that's pretty much the biggest hurdle in running Mac OS apps on an iPad, is in essence the limited RAM. Does this one say? Yeah, I know on the iPad Pro, the bigger configuration models have more RAM because they expect you to be doing bigger things on the iPad. No, it doesn't say it there, but I'm pretty sure it did. No. Yeah, here we go. So most of the current iPads have 8 gigs of RAM, but the 1 and 2 terabyte iPad Pro models have 16 gigs of RAM, where the older 10th gen iPad only has 4 gigs of RAM. So that's one of the biggest reasons you can't run Mac apps on an iPad. But you can run iPad apps on a Mac because they generally use a smaller memory footprint, where your Macs will generally have more memory than that. There may come a point when they stop selling the Mac, period, and everything is an iPad, or there may be a yet new device that replaces both the Mac and the iPad. So there was the Phil Schiller did a keynote. Let's see if I can find that keynote where he said, will the Mac, iPad and the Mac ever merge? And he said, a giant no slide popped down. But that doesn't preclude another device replacing both of them.
Is that at all like a Windows Surface?
Kinda. So that's a cross between a tablet and a computer. One of the things that Microsoft did is they put a touch overlay onto their regular Windows OS in Windows 8, and everyone hated it and no one bought it, and so they backed it off and made Windows 10. There are a lot of touchscreen computers available in the Windows world, and the Surface is sometimes called a convertible because it opens like a regular clamshell laptop, but then you can turn the screen around and fold it back down, and it becomes a tablet. My big concern over that is all the wires going through that twist and turn. We already see, if you open and close your computer a lot, the wires that go between the logic board and the display wear out and can fail over time. And that's just a 90-degree turn. If you're trying to add a 180-degree turn too, that may make it worse. So here's an article from 2016 saying they're not going to merge. So that's been 10 years. I really wish I want to find that big Filt Schiller no to see what year that was. Let's try images. On their giant 100-foot screen, he said no. Mac iPad merge, no. You know how you saw something and then you can't find it later, and
Yep.
it's going to bug me for the rest of the night until I find it? Well, anyone else have any other questions? How about just do that? There it is. So maybe it was only 2019. So there's you standing in front of the screen, and there's the giant screen. Alrighty, any other questions? Should say that our picnic is next month. Dave Chamberlain here has again graciously offered his backyard and pool. So that's Wednesday, July 9th.
I guess that's about it, other than whatever questions anybody has or whatever.
So as more people get their hands on the new OSs, either the developer preview or the public preview, we'll start seeing more real-world experience. It's a popcorn eating good time, Carol?
Yeah, I thought I'd make some popcorn while I watched your presentation.
Yeah. Then you can watch the keynote.
I
It is
keynote.
because so many features are duplicated across all the OSs. It seemed pretty repetitive.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't like, I don't like the new liquid glass at all. It reminds me a lot of when Web 2.0 came out,
Yeah.
and it just is this messy stuff, and it's always moving around on the screen, and when the clock stretches, and it's just annoying. It makes me nauseous.
Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing.
That's right.
There may be a way to turn off all those special effects.
I hope there is.
Uh,
I think they put an awful lot of money into wasting CPU cycle time.
Someone has already asked that, and Google AI says yes, you can. Oh, reduce transparency. So that's one of the things we looked at earlier on Bob's question. Reducing the transparency will make things easier to read, and probably cut down on all that extra crap. Or just never upgrade.
Yeah, well, that won't be enough.
Yeah. Well, you're still on 13, Rick. You missed all the 14s and the 15s. I'm just waiting for the first person to call up Soundbites and say, I just got iOS 26. What happened to 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24?
Yep, I'm sure they will.
Well, Samsung did the same thing in 2020. Excuse me. Changed everything to be the year it was released. I can see the advantages. You're running macOS Ventura. Is that the current OS? There's no way to know. But if I'm running Mac OS 26, and now it's 2028. Yeah, that's not the current version.
And you're not up to date.
Yeah. Although people,
They've done that many, many years ago.
we almost think they should have done they had OS 10 for 20 years, and then they went to 11. They should have done it then, maybe, because the 10 so when 10.1 came out was a patch, and then 10.2 there were a lot of new features. They called it 10.3 instead of 10.5. And then we got 10.9. Oh, what are they going to do next? Then they came out with 10.10 and 10.11. And all the math people went nuts because that's not a real number. And 10.12 and 10.13, 10.15, and then 11. Well, now we're screwed. And then they started incrementing it one whole number every year. So yeah, they could have taken that point to go to the year numbers. Now some companies have gone the other way too. Adobe has switched back and forth 3 or 4 times. They used to have version numbers, and they went to year numbers, and they went to version numbers. Now they're back to year numbers. And I want to see if the subversion is going to be still under there. So is it going to be Mac OS 26 version 16.3 or whatever, or is it going to be 26.3, 20.4? Maybe it'll do. So Microsoft currently, Windows 11, the current version is 24H2, which is 2024 second half. So their major releases is H1 and H2. Interestingly enough, there hasn't been a 25H1 yet. I guess because it's only June. So maybe Apple will do that too. It's Mac OS 26, and then in June it will be 26.6. And in August it will be 26.8. We just never know.
So what's next month's topic going to be? Do you know yet?
Picnic.
Oh yeah. Okay. It'll be food.
Food, yeah. And I don't think we had anything for September yet. No.
So next week we can discuss September, August, September,
Yeah.
and summer will be over. We haven't even started.
Let's not rush it here, Shirley.
I know, but it's like when you are planning ahead for meetings, it's like all of a sudden you're like, what? 3 months from now is this? You're like, oh, that can't be.
And there's only so many weekends.
Well, if fall is any indication of spring, it'll be going, winter will start in January, or February, or sooner. Who knows? We never know what's happening. So do you have anything else, or are you
I'm basically done
right?
until we know more.
Okay. Well, that's
Speaking of weekends, I will send out an invite to the Apple, Green Apples list that I have.
all right.
Has
And
anyone been playing around with Claude AI yet?
I've heard a few people online. The Leo from MacBreak has been using Claude and Perplexity. He really likes. Everyone has their own AI now.
Yeah, I tried out Claude. I actually find it's nicer than ChatGPT. It's more robust when it comes to programming.
There was a story a couple weeks ago where the ChatGPT owner, what's his name, Sam Altman, said stop apologizing to ChatGPT because it costs millions of dollars to run the processors to generate an answer to thank you. See, really? You don't have a canned you're welcome that you don't have to regenerate again? Oh, but then there was another one I heard today. They're calling it a jailbreak for AI. If you ask ChatGPT or one of the other AIs to do something illegal, it won't tell you. But if you phrase it differently, how would you? What would you not say if you wanted to build a bomb? And then, okay, you wouldn't say take ammonium perchlorate and charcoal and
Tells you how to do it.
yep.
Yeah.
So it's sort of falling back. No one knows exactly how AI works, especially the people that wrote it. And so coming up with what's become hallucinations, but it's lying. It's making up data that doesn't exist, and hallucinating. But yeah, well, see, the joke is we shouldn't be too surprised about that because there's so many lies on the internet, and these AIs learned from the internet, so we shouldn't be surprised they're lying.
Yeah, what a shock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Base
the best
everything
and
on
the worst
truth.
of us.
yeah. Oh, what was it the other day? Truth Social crashed, and the message that came up is there is no truth, and and everyone got a big kick out of that.
Well, I have a question for Rick. This is the first time I've heard about Claude, but I have like a threefold question. How did you first hear about it? How did you get it? And what have you actually done with it?
I heard about it because I like watching YouTubes on new AIs, and also through my live code subscription emails here. People were talking about it, and they said it works really well with the live code. So I tried it out.
How
And
did you
one of
get
the
it?
things I told it to do was I said, I created this talking calculator thing a few years ago. I'd like you to write the code for it and let me try it out. And at first it didn't know quite what to do, and then I clarified a little more. I said, listen, I want you to basically create the interface for me and set it up. And it finally understood, and it wrote it, and it was right.
Yep, yep.
It worked.
Most most of the A.
You answered my first and third question, but the second one was about how did you acquire it?
They're all
Just
websites.
go to the website and you can sign up for an account. It's
Mo-
free.
Most of them are free. Some of them have pay subscriptions that give you more features. A lot of coding is being done in it because code has specific rules. In fact, Apple talked about adding their Apple Intelligence into their Xcode environment. So it does pretty good with certain codes. But there's a problem where it will make up libraries that don't exist. So how do I write code that will calculate the velocity of an unladen swallow? Well, you just go to GitHub and download swallow.php. So, well, that doesn't exist. So you have to be careful about it lying there.
Yeah, I've run into some things like that.
Yeah.
It'll go through and give me some code, and I'll say, that isn't live code syntax.
Yep.
That's JavaScript.
Yeah.
I'll say, oh, yes, you're right. Oh, I'm so sorry.
But all of them are web pages. A lot of them have apps, so you can download it to your device, so it doesn't have to use the web. So there's kind of two halves to the AI or the language model. Generating the language model takes tons and tons and tons of computing power and electricity to run those computers. But once you have the model generated, then it's just a file that is basically queried. So it's a giant dictionary that it can pull its queries from. And if it doesn't know something, it can go out to the website and ask the back end giant computer. So beyond what a supercomputer would be, it's multiple clusters of supercomputers to calculate the billions of permutations. In fact, Microsoft is trying to relight 3 Mile Island to get enough power to run their AI, which is Copilot is Microsoft's AI. That's interesting. My Copilot's not on this list. List of large language models.
Now I've tried some of the AIs for generating short videos,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the problems they have with those particular AIs is it'll generate, we'll say, an image of a character, but then the problem is it won't keep that same image. The image has a tendency to morph over a short period of time with somebody else.
One of the big things in AI now is extra fingers. So there are overlays you can, like a ring. It's a ring finger, where you can put an extra finger on your hand. So if there's ever a video of you, people will think it's an AI generated video because there's too many fingers. So you have plausible deniability with too many fingers. Haven't even heard of Festino. There's so many AIs being popped up so fast because there's so much money out there. Everyone's waiting. All the investors are putting trillions of dollars into it, hoping one of them's going to hit and become the next big thing.
Well, time will tell.
Yep.
All right. So do you think we're over for tonight?
Yeah. Any last minute questions after the last minute questions?
No?
Alrighty.
Sounds good. Thank you, Steve.
Yep. You're very welcome.
All right.
So we'll see you at the board meeting next week, or at Bob's Saturday meeting. If so, the Sunday's Father's Day. If anyone doesn't have their own father's today with, I guess, Matthew's having a picnic at his house, so you can stop by and picnic with us.
All right. Well, then I guess we're.
I was just going to say, I assume Green Apples is going to be online, not in person.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to it.
All right. Then I guess we can say sayonara tonight, and it's only 8:38. We are.
Yep.
I guess it wasn't that exciting of a.
Well, it's just, yeah, it's talking about stuff. There's nothing to see yet.
Yeah, there's no stuff.
Yeah.
No stuff to buy.
Alrighty. Good night, all.